Good evening. Welcome to the Board of Commissioners regular workshop. Today is Wednesday, July the 22nd, 2026. It is 4 p.m. City Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Mayor Brooks.
Here.
Vice Mayor McGinn.
Here.
Commissioner Taglerini.
Here.
Commissioner Dillon.
Here.
Commissioner Gavayi.
Here.
All are present.
Public comment. Public participation is encouraged. If you are addressing the commission, step to the podium and state your name and address for the record and the organization or group you represent. Please limit your comments to 5 minutes and do not include any topic on the agenda. Public comment on agenda items will be allowed when they come up. If you would like someone at the city to follow up on a comment or question made at the meeting, you may fill out a comment card with the contact information and give it to the city manager. Comment cards are available at the back table in the commission chambers. Completing a comment card is not mandatory. Do we have any public comment? With no public comment, we will move on to Board of Commissioners Fiscal Year 2027 Gulf Beaches Public Library Budget. City Manager?
Okay, I'm sorry. On the Gulf Beaches, we are being asked from the libraries to pay our share of the 26% of the $376,023. Our payment would be $97,765.98. Doesn't the representative of the library come to these?
They do usually come and present.
Okay.
She was here at the last.
She was here
regular
at the
meeting.
last meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's really all I have.
Do we have any public comment? So I reviewed the budget, and what I found was that there was very little increase. They increased revenues on the library cards of $500, and their contribution from the Pinellas Public Library Corporation increased. They adjusted out their park mobile fees that they collected, so they had projected $3,000 last year, or budgeted it, and they're budgeting for $1,500 this year. But on their expenses, the only increase was a cost of living increase on their salaries. I support the library 100%, so I don't personally have any issue or think that I have not had anyone in the community have an issue with us supporting the library and paying our portion.
I watched the recording of the meeting, and Happy Price presented item by item, and it's a very minimal increase. I'm in support of this.
100% support that.
It's pride and joy.
All right, we will move on to the fiscal year 2027 sheriff's contract. City attorney? I'm sorry, city manager.
Yeah, I went ahead and reviewed this contract with last year's contract. I do not see many changes in it, at least in the services that they will be providing. Overall, there's a 6.05% increase, and I would imagine that's from just an increase in salaries.
Do we have any public comment? So do you know that 6.5 is an increase in salary?
I do not know that. I assume it. I will.
So in the past, they've come and presented. Is someone going to come to the meeting where we're going to vote to present, or?
Yes, I will ask the Sheriff's Department who will come and present it at our next council meeting.
So the only reason I ask is because I understand the increase, that they come every year with an increase. It would be mindful to understand why the increase, especially since we are potentially looking at the loss of property tax. and an increase in services. And I do not have an issue with the increase in the services to the Sheriff's Department, but I would like to know what the increase is to. If it's to salary, okay. But my understanding is that the Sheriff's Department can only make so much money, whatever their position is. And I could be incorrect on this. So if someone would come and present that, because if you can only make so much money, then what's the cost? Is it because of their equipment? Is it because, I'd just like to understand that.
I'll have somebody here for the next meeting.
I'd also like to have someone here to ask questions regarding non-emergency ordinance violations, and if there's a way that we can craft our contract so that we have a better understanding of priorities of when not, and I say non-emergency ordinance violations, things that aren't life-threatening but are still ordinance violations in our neighborhoods to protect the quality of life of our residents. I'd like to have that discussion at the same time.
I agree. Okay, we will move on to the next item, which is the Founder's Day celebration planning. City Manager?
I'm going to have Megan Powers come up and give you an overview of what we've at least looked at.
Hello, Madam Mayor and Commissioners. I have something on your dais, and we'll put that in the packet when we update. I believe I'll send that to Clara so we can update it online for everybody. But I have a list of potential events, not just for Founder's Day itself, but throughout the year as well, so we can celebrate 80 years. And there's some fun things like 80 things to do in Madeira Beach, just little fun things that we can do. We would like to ask the businesses to maybe do specials throughout the month of May for our Founder's Day and things like that. For the actual Founder's Day celebration, we were looking to do a larger signature event, kind of like what we have done, but better music, more fireworks, more kids' activities, and definitely more marketing so that we can get it out to our residents.
Do we have any public comment? Commissioners?
I looked this over and I thought it was a great idea. All the activities they put down it's really interesting. I think all the residents would actually love that.
And I was trying to think of things that wouldn't really cost the city that much to do, but still would represent the 80 years that we've been incorporated.
Oh, definitely. Remember the movies in Archibald Park back in the day?
I'll work with Max on getting Jaws. I don't know if the rights are
Jaws.
available for the water, but we can certainly see what we can do. One thing that I do think we should get going on even before next year is a logo for the 80th. Because we need it for the branding, but we also would like to do some swag as well, stickers, put a logo on the signature for the employees, get patches for you guys for your shirts, and et cetera.
Yeah, thanks for involving us and involving the residents. As our residents are moving back, finally, let's give them something to have ownership with, something to hang on to. Yeah, this is what we're proud of.
Absolutely.
This is great
So this
ideas.
is a start. If you have any questions or additions, please feel free to email me or we can talk about it at the next workshop, but this will be kind of a working list to go off of.
So I love it. Part of the conversation yesterday with Conversations was about the city and planning events. So a lot of these things are things that we talked about at the meeting. I'm super excited for the community to be included in the 80th anniversary. And I think that it doesn't just have to be a day. We can start it on January 1 and let it be all year long.
Absolutely.
So-
And we'll be working with the recreation team as well because it's a team effort with this one.
Yes, I think it's awesome. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Good job.
Next on the agenda is Johns Pass Village Directory and Wayfinding. City Manager?
Megan, can you
Oh,
come up there
Megan,
again?
you're going to do that again.
Hello again. So I was tasked with researching some wayfinding signs for the Johns Pass area. They did come to us with a directional sign that they would like us to purchase. There is a copy of that on your dais. Again, I'll have the clerk update the packet with all that information too. So you'll see here that this is the shell of what we're looking at. And then in the middle is going to be a picture of the pass as well as the businesses listed. We still are figuring out how we're going to do said directory, but the ask was for the city to purchase the actual shell of the directory. And looking at what has been placed in John's Pass previously, we are looking at 3 double-sided signs and 2 single-sided signs, which is going to be approximately $31,000, and that's before the artwork and the actual businesses. This is just the shell.
Is that based, well, do we have any public comment?
Megan, can you email this and I'll?
Yes, I will. I will.
If you wanna-
I can pass this around
Yeah.
if you guys want. And then I also looked at wayfinding signs as well. I thought something that would be similar to John's Pass would be Tarpon Springs Sponge Docks, just the way that it's laid out, because they do have a ton of shops, a ton of restaurants, as well as the boardwalk. So I took a look at those wayfinding signs, and that's what you'll see there on the dais as well. There's some different things. We can do some generic signage, like bakery this way, brewery this way, so it's not as advertising for the specific business, but it's still pushing people towards where they're looking to go. Another idea is there's a light pole on there, and we would have to talk to Duke Energy about this because they are their light poles, but there is an opportunity to put like a sign like yay big and say, this is Mad Beach Brewing, and it points to where it is. So there's opportunities to actually advertise specific businesses as well. So I gave 2 different options there.
Oh, go ahead.
I love the idea of specific businesses, but of course we run the risk of businesses changing.
That's correct.
So I think that I'm in favor of pointing the direction to Mad Beach Brewing, right? But something that is replaceable?
Absolutely. So with those light poles, you'll see that they're on there with like a metal strap, so they're easy to take off and put back
Okay.
on. And my idea would be have a 2-year contract so we could share the wealth. So it's not everybody, just one business. Everybody gets a chance to do it as well.
And is this the city's cost, or does the business share the cost?
This would go back to the businesses. We would purchase it for them and put it up, but there would be an advertisement cost if you would.
So they're sharing the cost with us?
Correct.
So the discussion with the merchants that come down to the meetings and with some other individuals down in Johns Pass that don't attend that meeting is that, and with the city manager, that the city would provide the wayfinding sign, just like you would in any development that you would own as the landlord, and we own Johns Pass Park. So we would provide the directory sign, we would provide the wayfinding signage. The business would have to pay for their face to go on it, just like you would in any other development that you would have signage in. I believe that in the past they had signage that was wood.
Correct.
I really liked that. I thought that kept more with the look of the village. Maybe not that it has to be wood, but that look. And there is a sign when you turn into Johns Pass that's still there, that's the old wood sign. So I don't particularly like the signs going on the poles. I would not be in favor of that. I would be in favor of something more freestanding or something different, not on a pole, not on an existing light pole. Would just be my opinion.
So
Directory, I'm sorry, real quick. The directories, so there is a directory in Johns Pass currently now that's at the bell tower. That directory, it's old, but that style is, I think, in keeping with what came from the.
Yes. They're looking at a hand-drawn style
Yeah.
of map with numbers.
No, I'm not talking about the map. I'm talking
sorry.
about the sign itself
the-
that the map would go in.
Yes.
And then there's
Similar.
opportunities on the map to sell advertisement around the map to pay for the map.
I think one thing that we do need to keep in mind is, like Commissioner Tagliarini said, businesses do come and go. So we couldn't change it for every single business as it comes and goes. So we would have to do a timeline, maybe look at it once a year, every 2 years, and redo it. Otherwise, it would get really expensive to keep updating that sign.
I think once a year is reasonable to update the map. The signage would get updated by the tenant at their cost. So
Correct.
if a tenant moved out, you would just remove their sign. It'd be easy enough.
So Mayor, could I just ask, were you at the last Johns Pass
was.
Village? And are they aware that we're doing this?
Yes.
Will we be able to take this information to the next one?
Yep.
That we have?
It's here today. The drawings that Megan has that she shared with the individuals that are here.
That we have?
Well, not the, just this, the quote and the directional, this.
Yeah,
This
okay.
sign was provided by them, and the quote was provided
all
by
right.
them as well. This was all provided by them.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And I've done some research on the map portion. I'm just waiting on some information back to share with the city manager.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is Kitty Stewart Park Landscaping Plan.
Megan?
Hello, Mayor and Commission. So on your dais, and I believe Tom's going to bring it up on the screen, what we've prepared for you is the kind of the site plan, if you will, which is not a finalized site plan. This is just overall our draft site plan, which shows the locations of which the landscaping beds are going to be. And then you also have a list of Florida-friendly, drought-tolerant, salt-tolerant plants that are attached with that. We are kind of leaving this open-ended. I'll let Mike kind of jump in.
Yeah, the green areas are the landscape areas that we have available to us. And the ground cover and flowers that we have presented are the few that we have recommended for this area, so that you all can look at it and figure out what is it that what we would like to put there. Again, as you can see, there's not a whole lot of area that is left for us to put landscaping. But we'd like to have your input and also the public's input on what they would like to see there.
Do we have any public comment? Please. No, come to the, you have to come stand at the microphone, sir. No one will be able to hear you.
Bill Carnes, 400, 150th Avenue. I know a big concern, a lot of people, were palm trees. Are there palm trees that are included in this?
It's just.
Yes, there.
Not a this is not a Q&A. When the public asks a question, we don't dialogue with them, but we can talk about it here. Do we have any additional public comment?
Okay, so there's some palm trees.
Okay. Commission, would you like to talk about the plants with Megan?
So I'm going to follow, I was going to say this anyway. I know there aren't many areas that would sustain a palm tree, but if there is one, I'd like to make sure that we have notable palm trees there. And the only other thing I want to say is my experience with the muhly grass. It doesn't turn purple as often as you might think because it doesn't get cold enough. It's usually just stays green.
Personally, the grasses are not fun for maintenance purposes.
Yeah.
Also for trash purposes. Previous to Hurricane Helene, we had Christmas palms at Tom and Kitty Stewart Park. We had several different variations of agaves there. We kept it very salt tolerant, drought tolerant. We prefer not to have to put in irrigation, but we will. So we need to be just very mindful of what we do place there. Obviously, you see the beach sunflower. That's something that's typically more in the dunes. But that is an option, although we do have a very invasive parasitic weed that we're fighting throughout the city right now. It's called dodder, and it is highly attracted to beach sunflower and the railroad vine. So we need to also be very mindful of what we plant there to ensure that it is not killed by this parasitic weed that we cannot.
This beach sunflower isn't the same as the beach daisies, is it, that I see? Well, I plant them in my yard because they love it. Do you know what I'm
No,
talking?
I believe those are different.
Those are different.
Yes.
Those should be on the list.
Oh, this was not a complete list.
Okay.
This was a.
Beach daisies don't even want you to do anything to them. And the palm trees are what people want to see. And I think we should do stuff like that. And that's the only thing I can say with any kind of experience. And the muhly grass doesn't turn purple like it shows in the picture. It's going to stay green and not be that pretty. Thanks.
Okay, so since I'm there almost every weekend, the small island, keep it as it is, nothing, because too many people walk over it. So just leave it as the shells.
Are you referring to the island that is closest to Caddy's?
The little teeny one, the smallest one that's there.
Okay.
The other two landscape beds.
Why not
you
plant a
gotta-
palm tree in it?
Yeah.
You can't walk over a palm tree.
You could. I mean,
Plant a palm tree.
We could plant something there that island never had irrigation. So if we plant something there, it will need to be something that can
yeah,
sustain
would be,
zero
yes,
watering.
Exactly. And a palm
Agave.
tree, yes. But
Agave.
definitely palm trees along the right side there. And as
We
to-
only have a 3-foot buffer there. So it's very small.
That's where
And
that's where that business has those podocarpus all along the side, right?
that are directly on the property line that are growing over into our property line.
And they're going to get big.
They're going to get big.
Those are, I planted them in my yard because they're a privacy.
Right.
I don't know that we need to do that much over there. With those podocarpus are going to get huge.
Bottle palms stay very small. We have those in various locations. We have Christmas palms in various locations that also stay small, don't grow really fast. Easy to maintain, self-pruning, drought tolerant, salt tolerant. So those are very good options for small areas.
The only thing about small and short would be that you've got a walking path back down there. So you've got cars and vehicles backing in and everything, so you're going to be halfway into the sidewalk. So it's like very, very narrow space that's going to potentially be going over into their areas. But
That
they've
is
got
correct.
nothing over there either. And then in the two front lawnscapes, I don't really have any particular, but they got to stay short, for the egress and egress,
We
so
stay
that,
within the triangle.
yeah. That's all I have.
Why can't you put a palm tree in those? They're tall and skinny.
You
They don't
can.
obstruct
We just
the-
have to stay out of
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had them there previously.
Right.
And we
Yeah.
can put them back.
So, Commissioner, do you have anything?
Yes.
Okay, please.
So what I would like to see in this case to possibly incorporate an area for families to gather, and when I say gather, I mean when they get out of their cars and they want to go to the beach, if they have a little bit of a ice box or whatever. So if we can maybe dedicate one of the spaces, and I know it's money, but if we dedicate one of the spaces to like a bench area where people with their kids can sit for a moment and maybe utilize the restroom, kind of gather their acts together and then go to the beach, I think that might be a positive thing for the people that are going to enjoy the beach, and also some residents that have come up with some ideas.
You give me the area in which you wish that to
Yes.
be. And
So what I'm thinking is you already have I think it says 5.4 foot walkway towards the beach, right? See that?
the sidewalk from Gulf Boulevard. It's a-
No, the sidewalk that's adjacent to the restroom, just to the north of the restroom, there is a walkway. It says 5.4, just go down.
Between the parking spot.
Yeah, right there. See where the restroom is, just the stairs?
Right next to the stairs?
Yes, so there's
Okay.
a 5-foot distance there already. It just seems to me like if you put the ADA space there, you can enjoy that 5 foot, not just for the ADA, but also, you don't have, so I think you know what I mean. If you put the handicap space there and then take out that handicap where it is just on the east side of the,
The ADA has to connect directly to the ramp. The ramp for the bathroom starts over by the handicap space. So in order to move the handicap space, we would have to then move the way that the ramp and the way that the building is going to be located.
that's true. All right, then just maybe put a bench just where we just talked about where that walkway is.
Okay.
I think residents would be really happy to hear that. Now, is this just for landscaping, or are there any other, I mean, you have all the easements in place, right?
No easements are needed.
Well, what I'm saying is, like, we received from Caddies a 5-foot easement where the parking spaces are, so it's not shown here, but I'm sure it exists. And also that turquoise area, you're alluding that that's an easement, but there is a little.
I'm just showing that that is just the property. Yeah.
All right, so this is just a landscape.
That was
Well,
the
the
direction.
easement is on there. It says,
is,
it's on
yes.
there. It says it's just little print.
The-
The easement is there.
Yeah, the direction I was given was just to provide you all with plant details and with a kind of draft site plan for a discussion.
Okay.
So we can answer any questions that you may have.
All right, so there's a space, it's like a hiatus between the turquoise area, which is an easement, and the property line. Does that easement directly connect to our property line?
Exactly where the lines are, I'm unsure, but our parking space and our pavers go over past that red line connecting to the turquoise, if that's what you're asking.
It's a legal
This is-
thing, so I'm sure.
The legal
Tom-
documents have all been taken care of
I'm
previously, back whenever the park was constructed in 2020.
So, and then along the south property line adjacent to the southern neighbor, there is a grass strip, or a green strip, I think it's about 3 foot. Maybe, you could, in 3 foot, you could put some wax myrtle just to do a buffer with the neighborhood to the south. And typically, wax myrtles can be planted at like 10 foot on center. It gives you a nice buffer. Are we putting a fence along the property line?
We are not putting a fence, and wax myrtles get really large.
No, they don't. Wax myrtle is a very small tree. They're intermediate trees. They don't get big. They're not like oak trees. You can plant them. I do it all the time. Anyhow, just some excessive. I would plant a lot of palm trees in here, not oak trees or anything else. Yeah.
So wax myrtles and palm trees?
Yes. Yeah. Diversify the landscaping a little bit, not just one item.
Okay.
So who has been have you been by there lately and looked at what the new condos have planted?
I'm there every Sunday, so I walk by the beach every Sunday.
But are you paying attention to what they've planted?
Okay.
The only reason I'm saying that is because they've planted additional things there, and those plants are going to grow large. So I think it would be mindful of all of us to take a trip, individually, not together. We're not going together, it's not a field trip, and have a look at what they put on that side, just to make sure that,
They're buffered.
They are buffered,
You're
but-
talking about the podocarpus, right? That they put
yeah.
that lawn
yeah.
line of? Yeah.
And they've got some palm trees over there also.
Okay.
Yeah, so before we have a discussion again on this, let's go look, take a ride and look at it and mindfully be looking at what's planted by the neighbor.
Okay.
And then I think that gives will give you a little bit better idea of and look at this, take this with you, all of us, and look at the areas and how big they are so that you can think about what we're suggesting. My suggestion is I'd like to see palm trees and flowering plants, and as many as you can plant wherever they can go.
Can I ask another question? How far, here's
Yeah.
that wall of podocarpus, right? And here's our parking lot. How far from those trees that they planted do we actually have to plant anything?
About 3 feet.
Oh,
Those
it's
are
only about
right-
3 feet.
Right on the property line.
Okay, and they're gonna grow into it a little bit, right?
They are already
They are
growing
already,
into
right.
it, yes.
Okay.
So we're going to have to keep it maintained on our side, so we need to ensure that whatever we plant there, we can easily maintain it.
Yeah, thank you.
Those Christmas palms, I'm kind of partial to those, and they seem, they would fit there, right?
Absolutely. We had them there before.
And They grow to 25 feet?
They do. They're slow growing, though.
Oh, slow growing.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that's a great idea.
So Megan, on the water side of the seawall,
Yes.
can we plant anything? Can we plant like coconut palms or anything like that over
I
there?
forgot to put that on here. That
Yeah.
was my plan. We are going to plant like we have at Archibald, coconut palms on the, yes.
On the water
west
side, how
of
many, if you were guessing, how many will we possibly get?
5.
5.
That's what I'm hoping for. I think we can do 5.
So I think that will be really nice. Once those palm trees are planted, is there any opportunity for picnic tables
On the beach side?
on the beach side?
Absolutely.
So,
As long as they're not in a dune,
Yeah.
an active dune, which we don't have there right now, we can have.
so get
picnic
them there
tables
quick
on
before
there.
the dune comes back.
We can always move them
Where's the coastal construction control?
at the wall.
At the wall.
But you can put picnic tables past the coastal construction control line. We have benches throughout the beach.
Yeah.
I think that would be really nice. is my-
Megan, do you have an idea as to what you were thinking that you were going to do? I would love to see, like you said, the 5 palms there. I would love to see what your envision would be. And, you're going to have to maintain them. You're going to have to deal with them. And that's where, like I say, all these plants, flowering anything, it's going to be nice. My big thing is palms and making sure that there's nothing tall in the landscape areas by the street. So if you would have something, and then like you say, you're out there all the time, so if you would present us with something that you feel is good, easy to maintain, easy to deal with, and that I would certainly appreciate it.
I think I have an idea of what you all are looking for, so I think we can take that and go from there.
Yeah, we can bring that, a landscape plan back to you at the commission meeting.
So when do you think, I know the seawall's done. Do you have a schedule yet for the bathroom delivery and for like the next steps, or has that?
I do not. I do have the production drawings for the restroom. We are actually meeting on that tomorrow to finalize a couple questions that the structural engineer has for the foundation. So I'm hoping that by tomorrow, end of day, we'll have every answer, and then we can sign off on the production drawings. And then once the bathroom goes into production, it'll be fast. My concern will just be our timeline for getting the foundation in, which you all have approved a not to exceed for Keystone. They have that plan, but it's just not all finalized until we can finalize the bathroom.
So if you finalize the bathroom tomorrow, it goes into construction next week, can Keystone go ahead and build the foundation prior to receiving the bathroom?
Yes.
So that it's sitting there ready to take?
Yes.
So once you build the foundation, what will be the steps for completing the parking lot and doing the landscaping? Not timeline, but just process and time.
Once we finalize the building, we will finalize the foundation. We will install the foundation. We will wait for the restroom because when they bring it with a crane, it has to butt up very closely to the foundation. We do not want to put down brand new pavers and then them get crushed by the crane. So we'll have the bathroom delivered and then we will put the park back. Putting the park back will consist of maybe 60 days at most to do the sidewalk and the site work. So once we get the finalized, I think it'll move very quickly. It's just the intricate part of the restroom with the foundation with the coastal portion of it is kind of been the questionable part.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
One other thing, Megan, would you place a line of sight at the driveway for DOT so that we won't put any landscaping in that line of sight?
We will ensure that we are following the line of sight, the site triangle with DOT standards,
Yeah,
yes. Nothing
okay.
will be taller than 36 inches.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Next on the agenda is City Manager Holiday Decor. I believe Megan is going to present this.
It's the Megan show today, isn't it? I've come back with a couple options. Unfortunately, I don't think the solar option is going to be great this year. They only have bows and stars for their solar option, so it's not very holiday-y. So I would propose that we go with USA Voltage to repair the poles, go with our standard lights. I'll try to make sure that they're the new ones so they don't go out. And that's going to cost us $50,512.
Do we have any public comment? Commissioners?
I was just looking over the information, and so I think that's a great idea. But it's $275 to come and repair one pole if they go out.
Unfortunately.
Okay.
Yeah, Duke used to be able to do it for free, and then they wanted to sign us to sign a contract with them.
Yeah.
And it was going to cost a lot more money than USA Voltage was going to do it for us.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Are we using Duke Power or are we using solar?
We're using Duke Power. The solar option it wasn't very festive. We'll definitely keep it in mind and keep looking every year at it to make sure that they're getting more stuff. I've been pushing for them to get solar for about 3 years now, and they finally have the option, and it's not great. So I'm going to keep pushing.
Yeah, bow ties.
Well, and that's what I would say, excuse me, I was all up for the solar. So, I mean, so you can tell them that they probably would have gotten it, but can't get what you don't have.
Yep.
And so is this a yearly fee?
It is a yearly fee. Yep.
Okay, so.
And the polls would be different because it depends on which polls are down. The numbers could differ year to year.
Okay.
Yeah, I understand it's a yearly fee, but this is important to our residents. I get a surprising amount of comments.
It
So
is.
let's pay attention to this. I support the staff recommendation on this.
So is this the only company that does this?
It is not. We did go to RFP, and I had one other company come in, and it was over $100,000 for what they're giving us.
So when you look at the decorations, are any of this different than what we've had in the past?
No.
It's just the same, what we've done every year?
Yes.
I'm 100% on board for fixing the electrical on the poles. It's the biggest complaint we get during the holidays from the residents is that one's lit, the next two aren't, three are lit, then one's out. So I'm in favor of that.
I agree.
Absolutely. I would have loved to have seen some solar, but if it's not available, it's not available.
We'll keep pushing it. I'll come back with a contract for the next regular meeting.
Thank you, Megan.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is community development, hurricane relief use of properties for parking. Marcy?
Good afternoon, Commission. So this is coming before you for the first time, and you'll see it again in another workshop if we choose to move forward with it. But post-storm, obviously, we have several properties on Gulf Boulevard which are damaged. Some of the properties have been demolished and are sitting vacant. And one of the requests that we've had from multiple people along Gulf Boulevard is being able to at least use the property to earn a little bit of income while they figure out what they're going to do next. And obviously, parking is a big option. The way our code is written right now, standalone parking is not allowed in those areas. So what we're looking to do is we really want a direction from the commission. If this is a door that you'd like to open to possibly allow us in a specific district, specific area to allow people to utilize their property for quote unquote temporary parking until such time as they figure out what their next step will be with developing the property. Obviously, we don't want Gulf Boulevard to become a parking lot, but we do recognize that people have been forced to make a decision about their property before they were really ready and possibly had the design, the money in place, or whatever those options are. So, like I said, very preliminary. We really want direction from you guys if this is something you would like to pursue and have us come up with a plan for, and what kind of boundaries we'd want to put in place for a temporary, for being able to use the property for temporary parking. Obviously, it would always have to meet ADA, so there would still be a requirement for ADA, stabilized surface for parking, and certain requirements would remain, especially with the landscape buffers if you're adjacent to residential property. But you also don't want to make the onus so great that people don't want to do it, so we have to come up with how we want to regulate that. There's pros and cons. Con being is you can't put the genie back in the bottle, so once it's built in there and operating, controlling that when their time is up or whatever constraints you put around it, when those come up, being able to get them not to be in code enforcement because they're continuing to use the property beyond their allowed time. So those are some of the things. I'll let Catherine talk a little bit about it. I know she's worked on an ordinance like this to help for similar situations, so I'll let her just add anything to that, and then we'll turn it over to you guys.
So, of course, the one thing we want to consider is we really want to encourage people to redevelop their property for tax base and other reasons. And in the city I worked at previously, we did have provisions in our code that allowed for temporary parking lots. The problem with the temporary parking lots was that the way the code was written, they were approved by the city commission for up to a year, as long as they followed all the rules. But they then fell under a series of states of emergency, so these temporary parking lots that were supposed to be there for 1 year are still there, and they are probably 5 years old at this point in time because because of the recurrent hurricanes, we're always under a state of emergency, and one rolls right into the next. Like, for instance, the state of emergency for Ian just ended last year. So, and now we're under a state of emergency from the other 3 hurricanes that hit the Gulf Coast. So that's one of the considerations. I think one way we could work with that is maybe to put a specific time limit in the code when we write this, not to say 1 year, but all of them would be removed by X date. The other problem is some of them have become nuisance properties where it's very difficult for the neighboring properties, and they become a constant call to codes and a constant call to other things. So I do think we want to be really careful to put in really clear enforceable regulations as to how these operate, what hours they operate. It would be the commission's choice as to whether this would go to the planning commission for approval or whether that would come to the board of commissioners. In the abutting city, became so controversial that the commission took back that power from the board. So, from the planning board. So just some things to think about when you're looking at these. The improvements for ADA would be minimal. Typically on these small lots, you would have 1 paved parking space and a paved path to the right-of-way. So it's not a lot of improvement, but we would probably think about things like fencing when it's adjacent to residential properties and those kind of things. So just some kind of lessons learned.
Do we have any public comment?
Good afternoon, Mike Wyckoff, 14225 Gulf Boulevard. I am one of the affected property owners that had to tear down my building due to hurricane damage, and I am one of the offenders at this point, I would guess you'd say. So I know you guys are considering this. I appreciate the consideration. I understand the difficulties of putting the genie back in the bottle, as you said. So my request is actually to go a step further and review the whole C3 and possibly R3 zoning to permit parking as a special exception use. That would then allow you to craft some ordinance, some codes to dial it in a little bit better and perhaps leave it up to the special magistrate or the planning commission to grant that request. And that can then that request could be withheld because there could be an overabundance of parking. But just some additional information. Obviously, if you've seen the parking on the weekend, you'll see that the parking lots are full. We have a need for parking. We need to support our tourism. In the last 10 years, tourism has more than tripled. And since our code was written, tourism has increased 800%. So there's obviously a need for those people to park. It would cut down on the non-emergency calls to codes for people who are parking in the wrong places, where they shouldn't be parking without their particular passes that you're supposed to have in certain places on the back streets like Palm Street and whatnot, and blocking people's driveways and things like that. So you can easily observe, especially on weekends, that the parking lots are really full. Another consideration would be the parking surface. Our current code says that all the parking lots need to be fully paved. To me, that doesn't make a lot of sense. As you may know, I'm on the planning commission, and a lot of our other codes require maximum impervious surface ratio. If we're going to pave an entire parking lot, that defeats the whole purpose of having impervious surface in other residential zoning categories or and commercial zoning categories. So I would submit to you that it would be worthwhile considering the open pavers or some gravel, something consistent so that it's not a mess, but something other than just a paved parking lot. We did mention that in other areas for ADA compliance, only one would need to be, or however many were ADA, those would need to be paved. The rest can be some other covering material. So one of the things you could look at is, I know the city operates a couple lots that are currently not paved. So have there been issues with those lots? Are there accidents or injuries or things like that? That would be something you could look into to sort of reference whether this is acceptable to find in your code that I'm proposing you do. We also have a drive aisle width of 24 feet, which would preclude every 40-foot wide lot from being able to do 90-degree parking. If you have an 18-foot parking depth requirement and a 24-foot drive aisle, that gives you 42 feet. Most of our lots are 40 feet. So we got a problem with our current codes. So if the code were to be changed to allow parking, I would want to request that you narrow that drive aisle. It is in, and I can cite you a bunch of examples where the drive aisles are permitted in smaller drive aisles in other municipalities as low as 20 feet. So that would then work. So you'd be at 38 feet. And it's typically when the adjacent roadway has a speed limit of less than 45 miles an hour, you can go to a narrower drive lane because you don't have to have that real fast turn-in situation to allow for a wider drive aisle. There's well over a dozen municipalities that have smaller drive lanes, some of them as low as 18 feet, frankly. Let's see, there are a couple parking lots now. One I believe the city operates that is 38 feet wide, so that would be something to consider. Also, the worry that we're going to have a proliferation of parking lots. Obviously, on Gulf Boulevard, I don't believe a parking lot is the highest and best use. I'm in the real estate business. I don't see it as that. But it is a viable use, and I don't see it as something that would become wall-to-wall parking lots. But I do think that there is a need for it, so it's something that we should consider. And again, if we do it under a special exception use, you do have the ability to potentially regulate that. So my request is for action to take is allow standalone parking lots as a permitted or special exception use in C3 and possibly R3 locations, allowing approved gravel or other permeable stabilized surfaces, allowing a 22-foot drive aisle for the 90-degree parking configuration, create an administrative approval process for parking lots that satisfy all adopted standards, and adopt an interim ordinance effective until adoption of the comprehensive code update, as you have already begun to discuss. So that's all I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Additional public comment?
Bill Carnes again, 400 150th Avenue. I'd like to see if we could incorporate a couple other areas besides just Gulf Boulevard, one being along 150th Avenue, and the second one being down in Johns Pass. I'm currently have a parking lot down in Johns Pass that I'm getting fined $7,500 a month for. I am not going to pave this parking lot before we develop our hotel that graciously the commission approved for me to do. It's a financial burden. It's a financial burden to me and my partner, and I'd like to see if you could include those two areas. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any additional public comment?
Hi, Bob Bello, 13301 Gulf Boulevard. I'll keep my comments brief because Mike's done a really great job with his presentation of the issues and proposed some great solutions. I do support the staff developing a practical process to encourage a process to formalize parking lots along Gulf Boulevard. Visitor demand remains substantial, and anyone who travels Gulf Boulevard can see the continuing demand for parking. A centralized parking garage could be helpful in high-activity areas such as Johns Pass. However, a garage in one location would not address the parking needs at many beach access points distributed along Gulf Boulevard. For example, and I have some sheets here I'll just pass out real quick.
You can give them to the city clerk.
There's no designated public parking near the beach accesses at 138, 140th, 145th, 154, while properties near 142nd and 149th appear to be using, we'll call it informal parking right now. So it kind of shows a need. There's several existing gravel or alternate services parking areas, including city-operated and privately owned lots near Johns Pass, 130th, 134th, and 142nd Avenues. These existing lots give the city an opportunity to examine actual operating experience. It seems like it would make sense for staff to evaluate the maintenance records and safety history and potentially use information from these lots when developing a future baseline standard. As you can see with what I passed out, you can see where the C's show where there's a city or county lot. The BA shows where there's beach accesses. And then I don't have one in front of me right now, but I think like the pink ones show where there's nothing, where there are beach access right there. And then I think there's another color that shows the informal ones that are near the beach accesses. So I'd encourage the city to approach the question by asking how can we responsibly encourage additional parking without making approval unnecessary burdensome or making small parking parcels economically impractical. By having some additional parking at these beach accesses, it would improve access to more of our beach access points, distribute visitors instead of concentrating them entirely around Johns Pass, and create opportunities for these beachgoers to patronize the businesses in other parts of the city. So my request to the commission would be to work with the staff for some sort of standalone parking permit or special exception use in C3 and R3 locations, approve some sort of gravel stabilized aggregate or other alternative services that meet the objectives performance standards, and whether a two-way drive aisle can safely be allowed in qualifying parking configurations. I believe in the one sheet I gave you, it showed about a dozen municipalities that allow that, and they're not small ones like Miami, Fort Myers, and I can't remember them all, but we just gave you a quick little list there. But finally, if we could have a clear and efficient administrative approval for to process lots meaning that meet all adopted standards, I think it would be great. So, thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any additional public comment?
Good evening. Marcus Winters, 830 Capri Boulevard, Treasure Island, and owner of Caddy's Local Restaurant. I think it's a great idea. I think tourism, the hardest thing you see in the city is for people to circle and they can't find parking spots. So I think it's a great idea. I would suggest doing two things. One, I would put a limit on it, a time limit. You know, I've developed a couple of parking lots myself, and they're quite expensive. So to turn around and have spent all that money and then let somebody come in and not have to do it over a period of time, I think just limit the time. And the other thing, I would just prevent maybe food trucks or anything like that opening up, because, you know, we spend a lot of money on brick and mortar places, and I want to make sure that these places don't become business areas for other restaurants and stuff. But other than that, I think it's a good idea. Thank you.
Additional public comment?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, Jeff Beggins, 439 Bocasega Drive. While you're thinking about it, when this hotel gets going in Johns Pass, we're going to have a big problem. So I know you guys are working on the parking garage, but there's some lots on Pelican that might serve for overflow, for real, like for functions that maybe consider when you're looking at everything, think about that spot for now, because we're going to have a big need. When that parking lot goes away, there's going to be a massive shortage there if you guys don't have a garage by then. So maybe consider putting that on the list of places to consider.
Thank you. Do we have any additional public comment?
Hi there. Stephanie Berry, 205 Boardwalk Place East, a business owner in Johns Pass. The only thing I would ask you is to make sure that you include in it what the pricing could be, so that we don't have our business completely priced out because they think that Madeira Beach is too pricey to park.
Thank you. Do we have any additional public comment? Commissioners?
Well, Mayor, I was going to ask for pros and cons. I heard a lot of cons from the city. I heard a lot of pros from our business owners and residents, I'd like to ask the city, what are the pros? What are the benefits? I mean, I've heard some good ones. I just wonder, what do you see as a benefit for us doing, allowing these parking lots to be with restrictions, whatever? Do you see anything that maybe hasn't been pointed out in addition to what the business owners and residents may have said?
So I think we all know we've been hit hard by hurricanes, so anything that we could do on a temporary basis to provide some relief seems to make some sense. And you see the predominance of empty lots right now. A lot of people are waiting for financing or for costs to go down for building. So, you know, it is some viable use of the property on a temporary basis.
Would we be able to put in those boundaries, those price limitations? I would hate to see more price gouging. Like the hotel has agreed to only $1 over what the city charges. Would we be able to do something like that?
I would refer that question to our
City
city
attorney.
So I think the answer is yes. You can do that. You have the ability to do that. I'd like to do a little bit of research on it, though, before we get so far down the path on that particular type of regulation, but I would think so.
I may have more questions later. I just want to ask those right up front, so I'll let my fellow commissioners ask more questions.
One of the other benefits, I think, is there are a few buildings still along Gulf Boulevard that are pretty well damaged and just vacated. I think if we gave people an income opportunity, they would be more apt to go ahead and tear those buildings down, and I think that would be helpful. And just for the health of y'all's conversation, our code doesn't require it to be, the parking lots to be paved per se. I do know that it seemed to have been interpreted like that for quite some time, but it really just requires it to be a stabilized surface. So we are able to allow for shell and alternative materials, with the exception of the ADA parking. That will have to be paved or concreted. The only thing with the shell parking lot is the areas where you park are considered non-draining. So we wouldn't be able to use that for your ISR, but we do allow that. So just so you guys know as you go through your conversations.
So that was going to be my question, because I had thought, my understanding was that it could be shell, it didn't have to be asphalt. So, commissioners?
Okay. Parking fees, that was my first thing. And in terms of, I think the only way I would be on board with this is if it's comparable to what the city parking fees are. Next, BTRs. Would they need to have a BTR?
Yes, sir.
Which gets into further things, with BTRs. Definitely a tight guideline for a time frame. And I would do it basically almost short enough that they have to redo it. And it seems like Kathleen's dealt with this before, so I feel pretty confident that she can do stuff up, sufficient that we will be able to say, yes, let's go with this. And then when I read this originally, I was kind of opposed to it, but then after yesterday's meeting, I was talking to one of the people here, and he was talking about some of the different areas, and I went down, and yes, we do indeed have some non-conforming parking lots that are ours. So, definitely a special exception for a 22-foot wide drive with the 18-foot stalls, so that a 40-foot wide property that we have so many of them would be able to do something. How many, at first I would go, and then I had the rock or shells. In terms of if shells are not permitted, rock's got to be permitted, because I do believe we have one of the parking lots that is rock and a hard area for handicap. So be it concrete or whatever, and that's something that, and no business is allowed. At first I had Gulf Boulevard only, but yet, they bring up a good idea, the Johns Pass possibility. If we're doing this, let's do this in terms of Mr. Carmen's getting hit with that stuff. If it's going to be acceptable, I think it needs to be like our city parking lot that we get the money for. And, the possibility of Pelican Lane, I think that's something that we can look at down the line once they start breaking ground and look at all that. I mean, but I'm completely on board with this, and especially with Kathleen's knowledge about making everything right, or making it an ordinance that it's not going to be catching us down the line saying, okay, oops, we screwed that up so let's not go into it, but yet let's do this and let's start helping our residents recoup some of that stuff.
I think it's a great idea. I think it's a win-win for the residents and also the tourists that come and visit Madeira Beach. I like the idea. I believe like a 2 or 3 year term would be acceptable. We can, definitely talk about that. But I like the shell idea. I'd like to see like a vision of, say, per property, like some might like try to squeeze as many cars as they could to get, paying for the buck. I would like to see some sort of like ordinance, or you can only park certain many there, So I think it's a great idea. The ADA parking, that does not have to be paved?
It does. That will be a hardened surface, yes.
Is there a minimum amount of parking spaces that they would have to require per property?
Yes, there's a chart that tells you for X number of spaces you have to have X number of handicap spots. So yes, there's a chart that we would follow for that.
Okay, I think it's a great idea.
Do we have any compact space requirements?
We have guidelines for compact, yes.
Okay, is this 16 by 8 or what is it?
Pull that up. Do you have that up?
I can pull it up. And then there's a certain amount that it's limited to also.
But I wanted to be clear, if we're going to craft an ordinance for a temporary parking lot, we can allow specific things that are not in our code today. So, if it's a feasible thing that can be accomplished, we
can do a
craft
code
the ordinance
specific
that way.
to temporary parking.
Right.
That is completely separate from anything that's already on the books.
What do we mean by temporary, though? What define temporary, please?
Well, that's the question to the commission is, what does that mean? Does that mean 1 year, 2 years, 3 years? We'd be interested in that input.
They'll be
Or
spending a lot of money.
renewable if they are in conformance and not renewable if it's not, you want to think about those kind of questions.
Also, what zoning districts would you not want to allow this temporary use in? Because they've been referenced C3, R3, PD, and C1 were all brought up as zoning districts where property owners wanted to be able to do that. But are there any, right now in our code, you can't do commercial parking on an R2 zone lot for commercial use. That's on a commercially zoned lot, for example.
My thoughts are Gulf Boulevard, and it was Gulf Boulevard only until we brought up the idea of Johns Pass. So Gulf Boulevard, so I don't even know about doing it as far as, the areas. Let's just designate Gulf Boulevard, Johns Pass, and I'm not sure about what you were talking about on 150th, where that would be. But I mean, but I would say, let's get. Okay.
As of right now in Johns Pass Village, the commercial core district, off-street parking is a special exception use. So someone could come in and apply for that as of right now, but the other character districts, it's not allowed as a special exception use.
Well, I think, aren't they all going to be special exceptions?
If that's the direction you'd like us to go with doing that.
We've heard kind of two different things from the members of the people who have spoken. They have said they want an administrative process. The question is, does it go to a board? Does it, or is it staff approved if it meets certain criteria? So that's another question for you as the commission when we talk about crafting the ordinance.
Well, if you're going to draft an ordinance, then there's no need for special exception. So in the ordinance, you can specify, 100% compact, let's say, buffer reduction, and all the elements, or no landscaping or whatever. If it's temporary, why spend more money? And how long is temporary? Because they'll be spending a lot of money. If you say 1 year, that doesn't really make any sense, 2 years. So that's another thought to discuss. And then permitting with other agencies, that's, needs to be discussed as well. So those are what I had on my list.
So, sorry.
So I like the idea of writing an ordinance for the special parking. 2 years seems like a really long time, but I was sitting here thinking we're almost 2 years since the hurricane. So when you really think about 2 years, it's not that long. So maybe there is something, that's something to think about in putting a time limit on it. You need a time limit, but we're coming on 2 years, and we still have properties that if they would tear down the building that was there and they made it parking, I would be totally cool with that because the building that is there looks terrible. We definitely do need the parking. I agree with that. The Pelican Lane property, it's interesting that came up. I walked Johns Pass this week and specifically looked at that piece of property to ask whether or not that particular piece of property could be used for parking, not by the person who owns it, but just as the conversation. I think that Attorney Trask could weigh in on the conversation on regulating pricing. I'd be super interested in understanding how we can regulate pricing and if that's something that we can do in our ordinances or in our fee schedule or wherever that is. And the information that was provided by the resident in regards to size of lots, I like that. So making it smaller and more usable. We do have small lots in the city, but I do have a question about beach access. So when I look at the map that was provided to us and knowing that these are beach accesses and that there is not parking there, when I look at it and think initially that, well, those beach accesses that do not have any parking were intended for people living around them and not, which would be why there's not real parking. However, that being said, if there was an opportunity for temporary parking, we talked about the city doing more parking areas, but I'm in favor of coming up with something creative. Whatever that you take from this and bring back to us, I would like a provision in that ordinance that says if you have a temporary parking lot, you cannot have a food truck on it.
Yeah.
Because the one thing that I would not want to see is 8 or 10 temporary parking lots pop up and every one of them have 2 or 3 food trucks. That would be not the intent of allowing a temporary parking lot. Temporary parking should be strictly adhered to temporary parking in whatever fashion that you carve out for us to approve that. So I would be greatly in favor, and I love all of the comments from the residents and the business owners that came and participated in this conversation today.
Mayor, if I may recommend, let's say definition of temporary could be 2 years plus maybe 2 one-year extensions.
I would like to let staff come up with that.
To be a part of the ordinance.
Maybe it's that you get the approval for 2 years and it's subject to an extension based off of whatever, right, to get that 1 year. That there's got to be something tied to extending it beyond. And to say 2 years, we just went through the worst storms this city's ever seen in any of our lifetimes, right? I wouldn't want to have a little storm come through, somebody use that as an opportunity to get 4 years worth of parking. So I think that's where staff needs to really be mindful in how you construct that. I also would like it to not take 6 months to do this. Not meant in any kind of way, but so we have the discussion today, and I know you all are super busy, and it takes time to put something together, but if we could have something come back at our next workshop, if that it's a month, I know that's short, but so that we can get it moving along for those individuals and hopefully to make a difference on those properties that are still standing with a building that we would like to see go away.
And to clarify, no R2 or R1 zoned lots would be allowed to apply for this.
Correct. And I think I'm in agreement with what, just to confirm, I'd like to see a proposal that includes some kind of restriction on cost, right?
Only if the city attorney needs to get that information and he needs to communicate that to staff.
Right, I just
So
see
in
that all
the
these
30
possibilities
days-
for parking could go crazy if there's no limit.
But in the 30 days that we have, if that's not possible, then when they bring us back, whatever they bring us back, they'll tell us that.
Okay.
If it's possible, we'll do it. If it's not, we won't.
Also, I think this is understood, water permeable surface, we don't want to pave over the entire island. I'm in favor of checking the Planning Commission did a great job, seems, of giving us some options there, so we can get more in there. And the C, looks like C3 and R3, that's mostly Gulf Boulevard. That's it. We don't want to go into the neighborhoods, because I can see that becoming a problem. And I think those were all, I think I'm in agreement, so I just wanted to restate it. Thank you.
And just to clarify, did you guys have an opinion on whether when we write this ordinance, we should draft it such that the request for the temporary parking would go before you or the Planning Commission or the special magistrate? Any thoughts on that, or?
I was
administrative?
originally thinking that I would like to have more entities see it first, but yet it's timing. We don't want this to go 6 months. So I would say if you guys can get it together and bring it back next month, all the people here or anybody else that's watching this should be concerned. I mean, or would be concerned enough to come and talk about it. And so the sooner we can get this going, the sooner they can start recouping their monies.
Yeah.
And then also, I think the 2 years and renew with review after the 2 years. And the 2 years would start once they, get their permits or whatever we decide we're going to do. So if somebody starts next month, it's 2 years from them. If someone doesn't get started until 6 months, it's 2 years from that point. And their 2 years is up for renewing and review at the 2-year point. And then finally, no other to see. Do we have any idea of how many properties we're talking about here? Has anybody done that?
No, I haven't done a count or anything like that, but I do know we've talked to at least 3 or 4 property owners along Gulf who have asked specifically about being able to do this.
Will there be a minimum number of spaces required in your minds? Like,
No,
can
I think
somebody
it would be
just do one or
site
two, or-
dependent. Yeah, we'd probably, whatever works on the site.
Okay.
So.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is RFQ for ordinances update. Community development.
So speaking of writing ordinances quickly, so as you guys know, our code is very outdated. We've patched it over the years, and consequently, we've tended to fix one area, possibly break another. We have a significant amount of conflicts in there. So it makes it very, very challenging for staff to review the permits, very challenging for us sometimes to even communicate when we're meeting with property owners, giving them all of the information they need, because it's not in one clean, precise location. So it really impacts the staff time. Plus, as we all know, AI is becoming much more popular, and they are building out tools to help with the permitting process. But that's only going to be as good as our code. So our code really needs to be updated, and it doesn't need to be a long, drawn-out process. We'd really like to get it comprehensively organized, remove the conflicts, and the main goal with this is going to be let's clean it up, and then we would come back with possibly propose what we would change in our code, because that requires a lot more workshopping, a lot more public engagement. So really the first step of this would be clean it up, reorganize it, and remove conflicts. And then the next phase would be the parts that we want to update and change. that require more public input would then come next. So that's kind of how we see this coming together. Fortunately, sitting to my right is somebody who's also experienced this as well, so I'll let her add anything to it, and then we'll turn it over to you guys for conversation.
Just working with this code every day. Basically, we recodified the code in 1983. There's never been a comprehensive look at the code since. So a lot of the 1983 stuff that follows through is way older than even 1983. And what has happened to our code over time is sections have been added. And so the regulations for something might be in 3 different chapters right now. So we want to consolidate that, make it easy to use, make it easy for the developers to use and understand. And as Marcy mentioned, the staff time to explain, like if we have to tell somebody what they can do with their property, instead of printing out section C3, I've got to print out like 15 parts of the code or link 15 parts of the code. So we would really like to see it make a lot more sense. And there are specific, for instance, some sections of the code say you can have a minimum of 3 townhouses, and some say you can have 4. You can only have a minimum of 4. And so, our code is just riddled with those kind of discrepancies.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment? Marcy, I have a question. How long do you think that once we go out to bid and we choose someone, how long do you think it would take for the contractor to do their portion?
We were just talking about that, Catherine and I. You were thinking 6 to 8 months from the moment that you have.
6 to 8 months, and the other part of this is we're still under Senate Bill 180, which means we cannot do anything to make our land development regulations any more restrictive, or to be considered more restrictive.
Right.
So that's really.
But we're going to be out from Senate Bill 180.
So we're going to be out from that next fall. So
Right.
if we get this project rolling now, we would have all this ready to
go
to adopt at the time that we are not under that umbrella any
So
longer.
6 to 8 months for the contractor to complete the work and bring it back to us, and then we start workshops? Or 6 to 8 months for them to do their work, for us to communicate with the community, the whole 9 yards?
So this is only in my mind, and I haven't discussed this with Marcy, but I am thinking that the main things that we're doing now is just to clean up the code and not to make fundamental changes, not to touch those third rail items of height and density.
Right.
And to bring those back in a much more public forum, in a much more workshop-intensive kind of way. And so these could theoretically just be done and then go to the regular series of public meetings that we
Okay,
have.
so you're talking about just sending this out to someone to bring together the where it's all over the place and put it in one place together, not to change the code necessarily, but just to make it more streamlined, more readable, more easy for the public and for staff to be able to make decisions. And then after that, if there were things within that code that staff felt like should be updated or changed that would make differences, you would bring that back, we'd workshop that for the
We
community.
start that with workshops.
Okay.
Rather than trying to write code and then bring it to a public meeting, we would do the inverse and do all the public outreach.
Okay,
on
so
those
we've
kind of
talked
issues.
about grant opportunities for when we do projects like this. Is this a project that would be grant worthy or no?
Yeah.
I have seen some small grant opportunities for, I believe this would qualify for that, but we can definitely look for that aspect of it for sure. And I would also see, as we're going through the code, cleaning it up and doing the conflicts, as we come across stuff that we do want to start changing and workshopping, we're not going to wait till the end. We would start bringing
Doing
those
it.
to you guys in a very, a nice order so that we can get things going and we can be prepared for that. But we can definitely look for the grants. And I do know we're working with, on our vulnerability assessment. And so I think with that too, there's some code stuff we'll be able to capture in that grant working process. So I think we'll be able to have some of that done as well.
I'm in support of fixing the codes and getting them straightened out for sure.
So what we would do is we would draft up the RFQ, go out for qualifications, and then once we receive those, we would pick the firm. then we would go into like the cost discussion, and if we don't like the first firm, we'll go to the next one. So we're very cognizant too of the cost, as well as, like you mentioned, looking at grants as well.
Commissioners?
Yes.
I think it's a fantastic idea, and I was excited when I was looking to see that it's going to be discussed here. Also, I had wondered about as to whether or not if some of the things could be brought in front of us as they're going through it. So rather than doing the whole kit and caboodle, the 6 to 8 months, because there's so many things that are from like 1987. I'm sorry, that, so like those things, if they're brought to us at the time and kind of piecemeal, I think it could go very smoothly, and it could potentially, hopefully help them out as well.
Your microphone's not on.
Right. Sorry. We did a very similar thing in Treasure Island, and we did workshop the chapters one at a time, but you have to wait to adopt them together because you're taking this out of this chapter and putting it in this other chapter. But we would workshop them in smaller segments, just like that. So that's a great suggestion.
I'm also all forward with moving forward with the process, definitely, and updating the codes. It's very important. So, yeah, 100%.
Are we budgeted for this? Where would you get the money?
I did budget for it, so.
Okay, and the budget will cover in your mind?
Yes, I'm very hopeful that what I budgeted is accurate.
Okay.
So, and that's what we'll be looking for.
And also, you'd be identifying the areas of the code that needs to be modified to the consultant so that they can give us a reduced fee.
That is correct. We've actually given them an amazing head start because we have an Excel workbook we've been maintaining with all of the changes. In fact, it's probably one of the first things that Mike had asked for when he got here. And it took your computer 2 hours to open it. No, I'm kidding. That's how big it is. But no, so we have started doing a lot of the legwork, and we would be very much involved in it and having regular meetings. It'll be still time consuming for staff, but not nearly to the extent of if we were to try to do it ourselves.
Okay, thank you.
Next on the agenda, thank you very much. Next on the agenda is Finance Ordinance 2026-08, Fees and Collection Procedure Manual. Finance Director?
Sure, I'll take this. And before I do, I know from the end of our budget workshop, we were talking about trying to reschedule that September, was it 23rd or 22nd date? So I just want to provide you with that information. Maybe we can have some quick dialogue so we can put that one to bed. According to the trim requirements, as was mentioned, all hearings have to be after 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. We have to advertise within 15 days of adopting the tentative millage and budget, and then we have to hold the hearing within 2 to 5 days after that advertisement. And they can't be on the school board hearing or the Board of County Commissioner. The school board hearing is on the 8th. The Board of County Commissioners on the 10th, so we are good with the 9th. Everyone here is good with the 9th. It's just getting that next one scheduled. So if we advertise that within 15 days, the Times prints on Wednesdays and Sundays. We could actually save a little money because there's a premium to print on Sundays. So if we print on Wednesday, if we hold it on the 9th, and then we print on Wednesday the 16th, then we could do the meeting on Friday the 18th. I think I heard Monday the 21st is a no-go. So how would Friday the 18th sound? So straight from
What time?
5 something.
Has to be 5 something.
And then happy hour right after that.
I'm a yes.
It's Friday after all.
I can do that.
Works for me.
18th?
Okay, as opposed to the 23rd, because if we did the 23rd anyways, then we would have to advertise on Sunday the 20th, and so we're actually achieving some cost savings on advertising costs by doing a Wednesday instead of a Sunday.
So we're changing it from September 23rd at 5:45 to September 18th at 5 p.m.
I think it has to be after 5, so 5:01, or we could do like 5:05, if that's okay.
All right.
Works for me.
Okay, appreciate that. We'll put that
Commissioner?
in there for now.
Does that work
Good.
for you?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Awesome. Okay, so now to the to the task at hand on the fees and collections manual. So we've got several that we can go over from finance, specifically parking and fire and marina. So those are in your packet, and we'll kind of walk through. We've got a couple nice pages that demonstrate the before and the after, and we'll focus on those. But then we also have had some, since this agenda packet was published, we've had a couple other departments, namely recreation and community development, that also has some proposed changes. So I can cover recreation, and we'll speak through it because this is just a workshop. So I can memorialize this, of course, for the first reading if you're comfortable proceeding. And then on the community development, there's some ideas, but I want to turn that over to Marcy to give some more input specifically on community development, plan review, building permitting, code enforcement. So let's start with the known and things that are in your packet, those three areas: finance/parking, fire, and marina. So in your packet, if you go to page, let me pull up the correct page, because you've got the whole manual, and then after that, we've got the before and after, so that's a great place. So that would be on page 56, I believe, of your packet, if I'm speaking accurately. And the first one is parking. So on your left side is your old from the last ordinance adoption 2025-18 to the new, which will be 2026-8. And so you'll just see the first one, and what's highlighted in red is what's new. So, for example, we're adding the new ones back in: parking violations, $60, ADA parking violations, $250, and fire lane violations, $250. And then on the next page, just some wording around overnight parking versus now 24-hour parking session as $96 total for the 24-hour period. And then in column K, just an added parking prohibition area. And then in stormwater is the next page. I'll pause in case there's any questions on that. Good so far? Okay. Stormwater will be, as we talked about, that's just going from the EDU rate of $10 per month now the EDU rate of $20 per month. We bill by monthly, so on the actual utility bills that you'll see will be $40 instead of the $20, because it's monthly times 2. This change isn't in your packet, but I also wanted to address the aspect of multi-dwelling units and non-residential commercial units. So we're also looking at changing the wording around that to make the calculation simpler and more clear and concise. So if I can take you to that real quick, that is going to be on page 50 of your packet. That's where you see the change, the EDU rate. At the top of it, it says the EDU rate shall be $20 per month for each EDU instead of 10. And then section 3 at the bottom of that, it'll say the fee for mixed-use property, dwelling units, and commercial is the rate of 1 EDU multiplied by the number of dwelling units existing on the property. Total on-site impervious is then compared to impervious area allocated to dwelling units by multiplying the number of dwelling units by 1,249 square feet per dwelling unit. So there's a lot there. And And Pinellas County Utilities is offered to prepare those computations for us, but they also charge a good bit of money for that. So our thought is just to simplify that. So if it's a multi-dwelling unit, it would just be that rate, that $20 per dwelling unit. And if it's a commercial structure, we would say that rate, that $20 per storefront. So if it's a multiple storefront building, it would be that $20 per storefront. So something that can be easily calculated, just clearer, simpler, and easier. And if it's a vacant parcel, we would just charge. So if it was a multi-parcel or a hotel that was demolished, now we just have vacant land, we would just charge the single dwelling unit cost, that $20 instead of the $10 for that.
So Andrew, whether or not they have a retention pond, you'd still charge the same rate?
Yeah, yes,
Pond, no pond, doesn't matter.
correct. I don't know, Megan can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that factors in the calculation currently.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got a couple of things, and in terms of when did we start giving tickets for back-end parking? And is that because they have to read the license plate to determine?
I don't know, Jamal, if you want to head up to the podium and address that.
Commissioners, Mayor, how are you? We are currently giving warnings, but we've recently started, it's always been an ordinance, but as we remove the signage, people are able to back in. But as we place the new signage per parking lot, it states clearly that there's backing in is not prohibited. So it's for many reasons: safety, for officers. A lot of originally it was inputted because a lot of shrubbery, people backing into sidewalks, things like that, signage. So it's just to enforce and allow people to, for when we get ALPR too as well, it helps in the future.
Previously, I wouldn't have had a problem with it, but I've got a truck now.
Mm-hmm.
And to get between the lines with my truck, I have to go out and pull in, pull out, pull in, pull out, where the backup camera shows me everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, and that's where I see 90% of trucks you see parking, they're parked backwards because I got a backup camera.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, I'm opposed to that. And so that's just my personal thing. And
I agree with you. I have a truck.
Yeah, I am too. I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So you said that it's always been an ordinance, or it's, okay, where?
As long as I've been here.
So but it's not been on the fee schedule?
It's just been improper parking.
Okay.
Because it's always
So
been.
I was not going to bring this up. I told the city manager I'd let it lie, but I agree with Commissioner Dillon and Commissioner Govey. We taught our kids to back in to a parking lot because it is the safest way to pull out.
Yeah.
Now, the conversation that I had with the city manager is I can understand why you wouldn't back in an angled parking spot, right? But we don't have many of those in the city. But when you go to a parking lot that is just a regular parking lot, parking and backing in is the safest way to leave. I went to the store today because we had a meeting today, and I said, I went to the store today and I pulled straight through so that I'd be pulling straight out. If I had not been able to pull straight through, I would have backed in. Because when you go to leave, you can look left and right much easier than, so I am not in favor of banning backing in on parking spaces that are square. The angled ones, I can buy into that because, like, if people were backing in on in the village on those angled parking lots, that could be, I could see where you could say that's harder. I don't know. I like to be able to back in, so I am against saying you can't back in a parking lot.
No, it's really good, and we can isolate it to certain locations. Like, we don't want to impede in sidewalks, which at Archibald Beach Park, if you're backed in, you're not able to walk or get a full wheelchair. You have to always have access, especially on a sidewalk, and it's just better for people, navigating through the parking lots. If it's back into, if it's in a road, it's how a vehicle is meant to be parked is straight in. So, I mean, it is convenient and it's a little safer, the back end, but there's a lot of sidewalks, walking areas.
But I could pull my car all the way into the front wheels and I'd be hanging over the sidewalk.
That's why if you park, into a parking space, such as like Archibald Beach Park, where if you back in and the truck bed is impeding in the sidewalk, we can isolate it to certain areas, of course, or just remove the.
But is that a problem, or do we have a problem? And when this started, did we have a problem, or do we have a solution that was looking for a problem?
Like I said, it's easier for in the future when we do adopt this technology for enforcement. So that's a big reason.
What technology?
The ALPR service.
I'm not going to vote for that.
Well, it doesn't have to be, again, approved.
I'm not.
Anytime
It's not.
soon.
No, there's no community that I've spoken to that says that it's worth the money that it costs to let somebody stay in a car instead of getting out and walking. And I mean, I know it's hot. I walk every day, but get out of your car and walk around to the back and scan the plate. Sitting in a car, I'm not in favor of that technology. Now, I won't always sit on this commission, but I have not had a conversation, and I have had multiple conversations with multiple municipalities who have used or tried that technology, and I have not spoken to one municipality yet that was in favor of it when you do the cost comparison to what it costs to have it. So I don't want to do any decisions based on technology. I want to make decisions based on community and community and community. And I think that's what matters most.
Yeah, we can always cover up with a decal if need be.
Well, exactly, and that's what I was going to say. I talked about bringing the decals back, granted, and so therefore, if you see the decal in the front, you're not going to have to walk around.
Well, I meant on the signage. We can
Well, I'm
cover it.
talking about the decal on the cars.
Right.
On the vehicles, like we used to, the sticker, and it's just like, I still would like to bring that back. I mean, it's something that, a little bit of pride, that like, you can see who all are there.
Mayor, is this discussion about this?
Well,
No,
it's just about the
but I
parking
know what he's saying. What he's using it.
Is it even a discussion about whether or not we're going to change the ordinance about backing in?
So I don't know where there's an
I
ordinance
mean, I don't
that
have a
says
strong
you can't
feeling
back
about
in.
it personally.
I
I
just
just feel
don't-
like we're voting on this. We're looking at this.
And this is
discussing
specific
this.
on here. It's saying $250 for
Right,
backing
so
in
it-
a ticket. I'm
So
against that.
if I can interject so we can keep this moving, it sounds like the overwhelming sentiment is to remove the back-end parking violation
Correct.
for $60.
Yes.
So why don't we just, we'll take that
Except in
feedback.
those angled parking, I don't.
But I don't believe we have any. in
I don't
the
think
city.
you should give a ticket. I think if somebody parks and they're over the
No, I mean the angled
sidewalk,
parking
right?
lot,
But
like
if
the
they're
Publix.
if they're over the sidewalk, then leave them a warning ticket.
That's not what I'm talking about. Like backing into an angle
You
is,
can't.
I think, more dangerous.
You can't back into an
It's very
angle parking.
difficult to
Right,
do
that should be illegal.
However, but as she said, you're driving through, you pull through, so you don't really back
You
in.
can't pull through here. I don't think I was.
At Publix.
No. But we don't regulate Publix.
Right, exactly.
He's only
Yes.
regulating city lots.
Just using that as an
This is
example.
only city
Those
lots.
angles.
90-degree angle parking.
Thank you. That's the word I'm looking for. That's okay.
That's it.
Okay,
Okay.
so moving
Thank you.
on. So next is fire, so that's going to be on page 59 is the comparison on for fire, so it just shows more between low hazard, high hazard on the fire and life and safety inspection. So just more information on that and a more detailed pricing schedule on the fire and life safety inspection fee. And then the next is marina. Price
And
difference.
I did ask about this specifically, and this rate increase keeps us in line with other municipal marina, but still less than the public.
For these marina changes?
Yep.
So changes to the transient wet slip, per day per week, boat lift. As you can see, boat ramp fees, launch fees. And that's the summary for marina. Then for recreation, those fees will be, let me just pull that section up. So those fees start on page 43 of your packet, starting with the after-school program, resident, non-resident. You can see that's $9 and $12. So there's nothing, you don't see any edits there. But what we will intend on submitting for our, for the first reading in August would be for resident, non-resident, instead of 9 and 12, it'll be 10 and 14. And then for the summer camp program, session 1 would be 625 instead of 500. Session 2, 625 instead of 500. And the full summer session will be 1,250 instead of 1,000. And then the non-resident rate, 750 instead of 625 for session 1 and 2. And full summer, 1,500 instead of 1,250.
Will the individual weekly rate change also? Or do we even do that?
For summer camp, traditionally, we don't offer a weekly rate. We do it by either the first session or the second session. The week, it's just hard to, it was something we offered for a long time, but just come in 1 week. If there's a child that's out that they know they're going to be out and there's somebody that wants to come with for 1 week, we do offer that, but that's a very rare circumstance.
Okay.
Then on the next page, the rental, space rental, BOC View Hall with patio instead of 200, 225. Ocean Walk Room, 125 instead of 100. Starboard Room, 75 instead of 50. Outside Deck, 125 instead of 100. City Center Room, 275 instead of 250. Commission Chambers, 125 instead of 100. And then that's Monday through Thursday, and then similar price increases, increasing by $25 for all those that you see for the Friday through Sunday rental. And then the park and pavilion rentals, removing the sand volleyball court rental.
We're removing it?
Max, do you want to expand on that?
Yeah, the 2 hurricanes in 2024, the volleyball courts are no longer at Archibald Park.
So last night, one of the things that was spoke by more than one resident was wanting volleyball back. So is there a possibility of putting it back?
We'll let Megan speak on that because she is more familiar with the beach.
Hello again. So it was actually prior to Hurricane Helene that the volleyball nets were taken out. They were taken out due to the dune restoration project with Pinellas County back in 2023, or I can't remember the exact year. It was well prior to Hurricane Helene. Those were never properly permitted to be put there through FDEP because they are seaward of the Coastal Construction Control Line. So in order for them to go back, we would have to work with the FDEP, so I cannot say yes or no if those would be able to go back. We have not really had too many people request them. I think since they've been removed, I've had less than 5. So it's never really been a push, but if that is the request, then we can absolutely talk with FDEP and see what that process will look like.
I'm of the opinion that we should look at permitting them and putting them back
Okay,
if we can.
I will start that process.
Clearwater Beach has it.
Yeah. If they're there, people will play on them.
Definitely.
So next is splash pad rentals, increasing for the 2-hour rental from $100 to $200 for residents, and then $150 to $300 for non-resident, and then removing the splash pad with tables, chairs on patio options. Then on the athletic field rentals for the hourly for residential rates and non-residential rates, all those would increase by $5 for every one that you see.
So when is the last time we increased recreation? I mean, not that I have a problem with it, I'm just curious.
I'm not sure how accurate it is, but below the lines, they show the resolution numbers or ordinance numbers, and so you can potentially infer from there. So, for example, you see 2016 back in July, August on the
Oh,
on the
sorry,
hall
I should have seen that.
rentals.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
Andrew, with all these rentals, insurance is included, right? Or insurance, we pay for the insurance.
Max, do you want to cover that?
So you're referring to the insurance, like if somebody rents a facility, a room rental, it is insurance
Somebody
required.
falls and hurt themselves and.
So if alcohol is served, we require them to get an event insurance policy. Common for a lot of weddings, if you're planning, like majority of the time we rent the rooms are for weddings, so that they will get an insurance policy and they'll name the city as an additionally insured. That's the only time we require an insurance policy.
Okay. Thank you.
And then the last proposed fee increase as well, not memorialized here, would be within community development, permitting, code enforcement. So I just want to turn over to Marcy to provide some additional details on that.
So we're still working through the requirements of the House bill and how we can calculate permit fees as well as anticipation. We're going to go ahead and address the plan review fees as well. So those are still, we're still meeting on those, and those will become forthcoming. And we also intend to add a line item for repeat offenders. When we're issuing stop work orders, we find that we keep issuing them, so we would like to come up with an escalation process. So we'll be adding that as well. What that looks like, I'm still discussing with the team. And there may be a line item or two in code enforcement or related to code enforcement that we're going to want to add, such as fines for illicit discharge and things like that that are more clearly stated in our code. So I'm still working on those. I'm a little behind just because of the House bill coming through and us really trying to figure out how we're going to redo that entirely and then get our system set up to do that as well. So that will be forthcoming, but I don't know the process for when I'll have that in front of you guys, and I'll have to get with Andrew and Mike and see what we want to do.
I like the idea of anything you can do that can help us inspire someone who is not being compliant, whether it's overgrown grass or whatever that is, that we can increase those fees to the maximum and be able to enforce them as quickly as possible. Because of that's one of the biggest complaints in the city right now is the people not taking care of their property. So I'd love that.
Well, you currently have a provision in state statute and your code that says up to $250 a day. So if you're going to set forth a fine amount in the code that is something less than that, you're doing a disservice to the city. Then you would just want to rely on the code enforcement. You may want to bring it quicker. In other words, don't give a courtesy notice before you actually give a notice of violation. That will move the process along a little bit quicker. But you already have a $250 a day fine that can hit. And that's, you're talking $6,000 a month for not cutting your grass. That's pretty significant, yeah.
I believe that that is what we should be doing. I think we had a conversation in a meeting where you told us that that courtesy letter didn't have to be sent, and the directive was we would no longer send a courtesy letter. We would go straight to, we would skip that and stop doing that.
It's kind of, based upon the actual code violation. You want to give your code enforcement officer a little bit of leeway to make some decisions like that, whether if he thinks that he's going to get compliance with a courtesy notice, then you've just saved yourself $100 for not having to do all the certified mailings for a code violation notice and staff time. So in some situations, it's good. I'm not saying that it's legally required, but I think you should still let your staff make that determination as to whether or not that they want to do that. But if it is something that is irreversible, irreparable in nature, like the illicit discharge thoughts that Marcy just had, we can move that fairly quickly through the process without a courtesy notice. Or they cut down a grand oak tree, for example, that's irreparable, irreversible. So we'd want to bring that without a courtesy notice. But I would, after doing this for almost 40 years, I don't really think that you should do away with it in all situations. Most of it you can, but let your staff have a little bit of leeway on that.
Right, they can. So repeat offenders don't get a courtesy notice the second time around.
Correct. And we've had conversations around when we skip the courtesy and go straight to the violation. I will say that in speaking with the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office officers that we have here, they are pretty much required to do a courtesy. So they will not go straight to a fine. So that's one of the conversations we've had with them, and we continue to meet with them on the processes. So
they're required by the sheriff that they have to send a courtesy notice?
I'll get clarification
Okay.
on what the rules are for that, but I will say as a whole, we've been moving straight to violations for notice of violations for the repeat offenders and when it's serious.
Okay. Thank you, Marcy.
And on that area, excuse me, I had brought up that I wanted to see about having magistrate fees. For everybody here, the commission has waived fees, but all that time that everybody spends in the magistrate's hearing, like this month, there were 15 magistrate hearing. There were 2.5 hours in front of and there were 15 things. And we made not one dime. We cannot charge a dime because of the magistrate fees. So by moving these along, we're going to potentially make some money. And to waive these fees, we're just killing ourselves.
You're talking about this commission waiving fees?
Yes.
This commission has
Right.
not.
No, I mean, but we did one or two that were like long-term. But then last month.
But hold on, because I
Okay,
don't want
well-
anybody out there to think we're waiving fees. We've been very specific on not waiving fees. And when we did, it was for a very specific reason. And we've only been asked, I believe, twice.
Yeah, it's not a habit.
It is
Well,
not something
I mean,
that
but
is-
I'm just saying, I didn't realize this, and I was like, I was here waiving the fees, I was here at the one, so in June, there were 22 people that were that were in front of the magistrate. And so the time that the city spends to go after these people, 9 of those 22 were old ones, so basically probably reoccurring. 4 of which in July were old ones. So the time period is terrible. And where I'm going with this is in terms of, I think we are trying to, as a commission, go against some of these BTR people, go against some of the short-term rentals and the illegal stuff going on. But by us doing this, we're just costing ourselves more money. I mean, more money and more time that our staff has to do to take care of all of this. And I'm just kind of trying to make, it was like a wow to me. And as Megan had said when I was talking to Mike about this, why can't we have magistrate fees? But the state and that has certain guidelines. You cannot charge somebody. But if they keep coming back, it's like, this is bad. And that's all my position on it.
I can get with Attorney Trask and see what options there are. I will say that when it is brought before you guys to consider a reduction, when staff goes through and runs the numbers, we always include all the time that we've spent with that person. So whatever the minimum that we recommend getting tries to capture all of that. But to your point, I can get with Attorney Trask and see what our options are there.
And it's just a matter of like if we can potentially expedite it. And as we're coming up on the 2 years, September 25th, there's going to be a lot of situations going on as to how many people are going to be brought in front of the magistrate.
Well, we decided that we were going to extend that to 27. So that's not going to happen this year. In our meeting, we had that discussion here that was going to be extended because of so many people caught in the cusp of not knowing if they're going to live, still waiting on insurance, still waiting on grants and different things.
Yeah, we extended the grace period on that to 2027. Yeah.
Correct. Tom, does the state of Florida allow the city to charge for magistrate fees in any fashion?
No, you're not allowed to charge. So if, on the cases that do come before you for fine reduction requests, I mean, we can do one step further. I mean, Marcy talked about city staff time, but we could also calculate attorney time. We can also calculate special magistrate time. And you can consider, that in your decision whether or not that you're going to reduce the fine. But I will tell you that the city has collected about $250,000 in the last month on code enforcement cases, and maybe a little bit more than that. I think one was $283,000, and another one was like $75,000. So there's significant fines that are being captured, and the city manager, or maybe Andrew can give you all those numbers, but there are significant fines that are being collected. No, there are some that are not. They're just sitting there because they're homesteaded property and you can't collect on them. But anyhow, but to your point, can we collect the special magistrate fees? We can offset that when you think about reducing a fine. Make sure you capture it. So that, in my mind, city staff time is important, but the big dollar number is going to be the special magistrate and the attorney preparing for and attending that hearing. So
then if you are so inclined as to ask us again to reduce a fine,
no, I mean,
we can consider that also. I think that's fantastic advice.
Yes, and I was not aware that we got that many. I mean, because all the magistrates hearing that I see, and granted the 250, I mean, I don't think there's really, I mean, last month there was like maybe 250, which it was because the structure was not livable or potentially not livable. But generally speaking, the fines are $150.
And that's because the state statute and your code tells the special magistrate how he determines the amount of the fine. So he looks at three things. One is what's the gravity of the violation, how serious it is. Next is what the property owner has done to bring the property into compliance now that he knows that he's been cited. And the last thing is has that property owner ever been cited before for things, and is he a repeat violator, for example. So the special magistrate is supposed to take those three things into consideration. Now, we make a recommendation when it comes before them, and you'll see in the testimony that's given by your code enforcement people the reasons why they believe that it should be higher, but it shouldn't always be 250. Otherwise, it wouldn't make, well, in my mind, it doesn't make sense to charge 250 to everybody. You wouldn't want to, high grass, junk, trash, and debris case at 250, and then you have a house that's burnt basically to the ground, and it's just a big charred mess out there. I wouldn't treat them the same.
Right.
Yeah. So, anyhow,
which is why we have a magistrate
here,
But that's why we have a special magistrate, is the professional to make that decision on our behalf, what makes the most sense, and we have to trust that process.
Agreed.
So just to conclude my presentation, I want to confirm your level of comfort, not only the fees that are disclosed, plus what I verbally told you all on the recreation side, but then the things that Marcy's comfortable with adding before the first reading of the ordinance, which will be in August, are you all okay with us adding those as well, so we can try to get those in, because there'll be two readings, first and second reading, and then obviously wanting to take effect thereafter in the beginning of October.
Do we have any public comment? Commissioners, do you have any comments? I'm in agreement.
I'm kind of along with it so long as we do away with the truck. I wasn't wanting to accept the $20 a month as opposed to 10. But if I said no, I believe everybody else is on board with it. I mean, you know, I think if that's the only thing that we are going to be raising at this budget, I'll be okay with it. Just say.
Okay. We're going to raise it to $20 if we all vote yes, and we're still going to be losing money. So think of, I mean, let that sink in, right? We're still going to lose money.
Exactly, and that's like, okay, so we're
We should
going to
have raised it a
lose
long time
money.
ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, next on the agenda is amendment to consultant agreement, finance director services.
Mayor Commissioner, at my request, Andrew has prepared his amendment to his Clarion consulting agreement, and I'd like to have him go ahead and go through it with you.
Thank you.
So this process occurs annually. We have, since 2023, we've gone into amendments to my existing consultant agreement for annual extensions, and then it's based on a fixed monthly fee. So that fixed monthly fee has been $8,600 a month. The amendment, the third amendment to this agreement, so the amendment was for First Amendment 24, Second Amendment 25, Third Amendment now in 26 to extend through fiscal year 27 would be a 2.3% increase to $8,800 per month, and I would be the one to continue to be the one providing the finance director, treasurer services for the city.
Do we have any public comment? Commission, any questions or comments?
I have no objection to this increase.
I agree, no objection.
I don't have any objections.
I agree with staff, yep.
Then next on the agenda is Public Works, amendment to the RFP number 26-05, Marina Seawall Replacement number 2 to include 129th Avenue, Area 5 seawall replacement.
Hello again, Mayor and Commission. So what you have before you is an amendment to the contract that we approved for Spieler. As we've spoke previously about previous projects, we've already gone out to bid for this project, but at the time when we went out to bid, this seawall was not a portion of that. So since we've been able to piggyback this Area 5 project off of the Duncan Drive with Keystone, we've gotten a quote from them because there wasn't a seawall in that Duncan Drive project. It way exceeded what our cost was from Spieler. So we asked Spieler to provide a proposal for us based upon the proposal that they submitted with the RFP 26-05 for the seawall that is at the end of 129th. So that is what you have before you. The city attorney has reviewed that and approved that, and I am here to answer any questions you may have.
Do we have any public comment? Commission, do you have any questions or comments for Megan?
None for me. I think it's a great deal.
Thank you.
It's expensive, but it is what it is.
It's less than the other guy.
Yes,
That is correct.
I agree.
I'm good with that. Then we will move on to ITB number 2604, Stormwater Backflow Prevention Project.
This project is based upon the state appropriations that we have received. This is a grant through FDEP. We placed this project out to bid, and we received, I believe it was 6, I don't have the number right in front of me, submittals, which is very great. All of those ranged from anywhere from the lowest bid that you have in front of you with the contingency is a bit over what our estimated project cost is, but that's with the contingency, all the way up to, I think, almost $400,000. So we have 13 locations, of which we plan to put valves on with this money. So it's $100,000 from FDEP, and it was a match. So we will put in $100,000. We have various locations throughout the island that will receive valves, anywhere from a 12-inch to, I think the largest was a 36. So I can answer any questions you may have. This contractor is very well known with these valves. These are the valves we have in the BOC neighborhood and also 137th. So we are also very well known with these valves, and they have held up in Boca Ciega since 2017 of their installation date.
Do we have any public comment? So Megan, if these are the valves that we already have, have they ever worked for us before?
They do work. Now, to say that they're going to stop the water, they're not
No,
going to
no, that's not what I mean. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I misspoke. This contractor, has this contractor ever worked for us?
No, this is a brand new contractor, but we have vetted him. He comes highly recommended from our waste stop representative who has worked with him in several other locations.
So you know why I'm asking, because he's the lowest.
Oh, I'm sure. But we've vetted him. He has very good.
How much lower was he from the next, do you know?
Around $30,000, I think, was the second lowest. And then the rest of the bidders were not fully responsive in their submittals. They were missing several documents or did not follow the rules.
Okay. I don't have any other comments.
Megan, real quick, the valves, do you know how many there are and where they're located at?
There's 13 locations.
Okay.
I do. I can provide that list to you of the areas in which we have picked, and I'm going to tell you it's Harbor, Bay Point, 140th.
They're in the packet.
100 and North
It's
Bay
on-
Shore.
It's in the
Is it in the
packet.
packet?
It's in the packet,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, those are like the main areas.
Okay.
I've got the question, where on Island Drive?
There is a outfall for that whole entire system from 140th right at the intersection of South Bay Shore. Basically, if you're heading out to Crystal Island, right where the concrete sidewalk is, there's an outfall there for the
On the right
CDs.
side as you're heading out, or on the left side?
On the right.
side.
Mhm.
Okay, because there's
Yeah.
all kinds of barnacles.
There are.
There existing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all over.
Oh.
Yeah, there's many different kinds of these valves that you can do. And since we have a CDS unit, we can always do an option for an inline there. So the contractors all were told to go out, look at the locations, but there's 2 phases to this bid. So the phase 1 would be for them to go out, do a site inspection, ensure that what we have in our data is correct for the size, come back, and then go through and order the valves. So this wasn't we tell you exactly what it is. It's 2-phase to ensure that, one, they're responsible if the valve doesn't fit properly, because in the Boca Ciega neighborhood, we measured on a couple different ones and the valve did not fit properly. So we are putting it up to the contractor to do that.
So as I'm reading this correctly, the Island Drive is a 30-inch valve?
It is a big pipe.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
You know, I'm go ahead, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm not in favor of this design. I'm not in favor of flapper valves. So I will not be voting yes. I think they're detrimental. I think they'll impede on drainage. And I think the barnacles will grow and it'll be a maintenance nightmare. I just don't like flapper valves.
So these aren't necessarily fully a flapper valve. They have like a cone shape, and we don't, with this design that we've had in place since 2017, we don't really have an issue with barnacle growth on these, which is why we are proceeding to move forward. You are correct. They do pose an issue. If there is a high tide event with a rain event, they need more pressure to be able to push the water out. So they do have a negative effect of that. But what most of our concerns from our residents are is the tide coming into the street, which will help with that. So it's kind of it's a catch-22. We'll just need to be ensure that our residents are aware, and they asked, and this is how this project has come to fruition.
I'm just curious, real quick, from experience that during the storms, the valve that's going to be put or is in place at North Bay Shore, I'm sorry, it is actually 140th and South Bay Shore there, that area. Just curious as to where that would be put.
So there is a outfall right at that new property where they used to have all that beautiful landscaping. Back in 2018, we put in an additional storm drain there to help with the flooding. So there's an outfall that's there along with a baffle box. So that valve for that specific one will go at that outfall.
Oh, great.
And then there's an additional one at the one on Island Drive.
Fantastic. Thank you.
You're welcome.
What's the alternative for the valve? I mean, what is the, is there a different kind?
There is no alternative.
I mean, I understand, thank you, because I got educated, that when the tide is high and we get a flood and rain, there's nowhere to go. That's the cost of living, unfortunately, on a barrier island that's below sea level. So, and I've watched the videos of how those valves work and how it works when it's just a high tide, how it works when it's just a rain with a low tide, and how it works when it's raining and it's high tide. So, I mean, we have to have something. And you all you clean them.
We do.
And
these are
maintain
on
them.
a quarterly cleaning.
So,
with the BOC Ciega ones, obviously, and we've talked about this several times, if you don't contain your landscaping debris,
Right.
and if you constantly put your landscaping debris on top of the storm drain inlets, which happens a lot in the BOC Ciega neighborhood, along with if someone has shell or any of that, anything gets stuck in between that valve, the rubber piece of that, obviously it's not going to close.
Right.
But the alternative is just to continue with the way that it is now, and on a king high tide event, which we've been having some major high tides lately.
So the wood chips, that was a big
I wish we
problem.
could ban them and mulch altogether.
Yeah, I believe we're working on that for within the right of way, so that will help
It definitely
tremendously.
flowed down.
I'm just curious, Commissioner Gavai, what alternative would you suggest that you don't?
There's no alternative. The best design is to keep the grate where the water gets in there as high as possible, and gravity takes care of itself. Okay, the water comes in, it drains. If the top of the inlet is much, much higher, of course, we have to live with existing situations, I understand. But you know, you will be working, the flapper valve will be working against you when there is rain coming, and the flapper valve is closed and it won't let you drain the water.
But your solution is that we raise.
Well, I mean, that's design, but you have to honor whatever's out there right now.
That's what we've got.
So if you can, I mean, if there are possibilities.
So with
of
our
raising-
existing roadways, this is really the only.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, good or bad, just.
Right.
It is what, okay. I just wanted to understand.
Yeah,
Thank you.
no, I appreciate that. All right, next on the agenda is disaster debris management participation agreement with DRC.
You all have already approved the interlocal agreement with Pinellas County that they did in addition to their previous agreement due to costs increasing. So this is just to piggyback off of that agreement to ensure that we have a debris contractor. I'm working with the rest of them. Our contracts with the old agreement are still good until, I believe, 2028. So this is just doing some due diligence homework.
Do we have any public comment? Commission, any comments or questions?
Thumbs up.
I don't have any. Thank you very much, Megan.
Thank you.
Thank you,
And
Megan.
we did not have any public comment to respond to, so
Mayor,
it is
Mayor,
6.
One thing. I'd like to have Max come up here and give you an update on the Burger Week.
He's not on the agenda.
I know, I forgot to put him on the agenda. I'm sorry. Thank you for sticking around, Max.
I do believe you just didn't want me to talk about food 2 hours ago when we were all hungry for dinner, so. Burger Week is coming up August 21st through the 30th. I wanted to let you know we have 18 restaurants taking part in Burger Week this year. To kick off Burger Week, we're coinciding it with Village Friday on Friday, August 21st, from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. down in Johns Pass. We're going to have live music, just a Burger Week kickoff party. I was wondering if the board would have any interest in coming and celebrating that with me. I thought maybe we could all get on stage and take a bite out of a burger and really kick off the event.
As long as it's a vegetarian burger.
I'll see what I can do. We can
What
do
about
that.
a fish burger
Is it,
or shrimp?
So,
what time is that going to happen?
6 to 9. I don't have an exact timeline. I was going to see what worked better for you all. I know that event usually the band takes a midpoint break. So my idea was to maybe get the board up on stage, maybe in the middle for some.
Is that the day of our strategic planning session?
Yes, it is. So we will have strategic planning until 4 p.m. and then you can go and
Bite a burger.
have a siesta. And at 7, you can take the stage and we can chomp a burger.
That's a great
Or
idea.
have a snack so that you're hungry when we stand up there. And
Yeah.
I think that would be awesome.
Last year was amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, and isn't it actually 10 days? It's Friday to following Sunday.
Yep. So it's Friday to the following Sunday. So it encompasses 2 whole weekends. And we're
So
going to
Anne
have
Marie,
some.
our mayor, can get all of them.
I will
in.
have no problem eating every burger. All 18.
So
2 a day I only need.
Or a breakfast burger.
You can have a breakfast burger.
I only
You
need
could-
9.
2 dinners. I mean, there's options.
I could take a day off.
How are you marketing this beyond just ourselves?
Just city. We also have partnered with the chamber. Pinellas Beaches Chamber helps us market this event as well through Facebook and then just through all the city avenues, email blasts and such. We also have all the contact information of everybody who's participated and turned in a passport in years past. So we're reaching out to those folks again, reminding them about the great event that's taking place and hoping they come out again and partake.
Also, Visit St. Pete Clearwater is helping us advertise.
They're also on board as well.
Yep.
And at the end last year, I believe it was standing room only at Daiquiri Shack.
At the awards party, it was a full house, so it was
It
everybody
was a
really
full
rallied.
house all the way back in the back.
It's so much fun to see the winners when they win, especially if the personalities of the people, it's so fantastic. It's
Another event as well, I kind of spoke with a few of you about this. I'm calling it Burger with the Board. So in place of conversations with the mayor, I thought, why not get everybody involved? So we're looking at doing Wednesday, August 26th, from noon to 2 at the Cambria. So kind of similar structured like conversations with the mayor. I may have agreed to have you guys actually serve the burgers to the tables of the patrons.
I thought that was a great idea.
But just a good way for maybe people who don't normally show up to are new to conversations, have never attended. Very informal networking.
Can we ask for a tip?
If
No.
we could. I get you a little apron with a book.
I
and
got a tip for you.
But I thought it would be a fun event. We have some apparel, some swag coming too for the event, so I'll make sure you guys are all cued in on that as well. And then we're also doing another micro event. This is going to be a ticketed event for Burger Week. We're calling it the Burger Bus. So we're essentially going to sell tickets to go. We're going to take the ADA accessible bus, and we're going to visit multiple restaurants in one night. They're going to get a little sample of the burger and a beverage at each stop, and we're going to tote them around town. So
Nice.
should be a good time.
Good plan.
That is awesome.
Any other questions?
Looking forward to it.
Awesome. Thank
What
you guys.
What happens if you need a second bus?
Well, we talked about doing a second night as well. So if this first night sells out, we're going to do another night the following Saturday. So that's going to take place. I don't have it written down. That
22nd.
22nd, yeah, is where we're going to do the first one. So
I think it's awesome. It's very exciting. Burger Week is something that has, year over, is just grown and gotten better and more excitement and more people look forward to it. And it is such a great vibe and the community loves it. So it is fantastic.
Awesome. Thank you guys for letting me run with my ideas and follow through with this, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Max.
Mayor, I'm sorry to detain, but this just came up. We rescheduled our November meetings to a Tuesday.
We did?
Well, yes. And because Wednesday is Veterans Day, and I now have a work conflict with a Tuesday because I usually schedule around Wednesdays. And I'd like to discuss rescheduling the rescheduling. If we did it on November, because remember, it's both meetings for November on one day so that we avoid Thanksgiving. If we do it on Wednesday, the 18th, it's still a week before Thanksgiving, more than a week before Thanksgiving. And I would like to ask if the board might indulge me in requesting this change or another day, but that's just a possibility.
I don't have an issue with the 25th. I mean, with the 18th, I'm
18th,
sorry. I don't have an issue. Aren't we going to start at 2 o'clock?
I don't have an issue.
You have one, or you don't?
I do not.
You do not.
Yeah, I have it in my calendar 2 and 4, just like we did today.
Yep.
I mean, I have a lot of issues.
I don't have it, so the 18th is
I
good.
I didn't have it on mine, so the 18th works for
Well,
me.
Claire, before I spoke, I asked Claire, she confirmed that we had.
Yeah, we did,
done
we
that.
did, we
Yeah.
did.
Commissioner
City
Devine.
Attorney, do you have a conflict with the 18th?
I do. I have the Safety Harbor Code Enforcement meeting at 6:30, so I'll get someone else to cover.
Okay. Don't get anybody better than you.
If that's possible, I appreciate it that way. I don't have that work. I don't have to.
Are you
That
okay?
would be
Is
2
everybody-
meetings I'd have to
Yeah.
miss.
What time
Right.
did they say?
Thank you.
And Veterans Day will be off.
And we're still off on Veterans Day.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Which meeting?
And
And
we're going
Mayor-
to do both of them.
A workshop?
We put both of those on one day, so.
November and
That's it.
December, we
Yeah.
will.
That's at 6 o'clock?
Two and
starts
2 and
at 2.
4.
It is 2 and 4.
2 and 4, we do the workshop at
4.
2 and the
2.
meeting at 4, or vice versa.
2 and 4.
Mayor, did you
Yes.
still want to do, because we have a workshop at the ending of the month before, and then you're coming back for another workshop, then regular, and there was one of those that didn't have a workshop for January. So did we want to just do workshop, then come in November, do regular workshop? in
Yes,
December?
yeah, yeah.
And not do like
The
we did in
problem,
the
so
past?
here's the problem with here's the problem. When you have a workshop and a meeting, so staff doesn't have time. When we do them on the same day like that, they don't have time to prepare anything. So I kind of feel like we would really be better off just to do a, so if we did in November, instead of doing a workshop and a meeting, what if we just did, well, no, because in January, the first meeting in January is going to be a meeting. So in November, we should just do a meeting, and then in December, just do a workshop, and then in January, we kick off with a meeting.
Yeah,
So
that
then, instead of being here for, it's not even concerning about the hours, there's no way for staff to be able to be productive for the meeting because they haven't had the time to prepare anything and put it in the packet. So I would suggest that in November, we do a meeting, a regular meeting, and then in December, we do a workshop, and then in January, we have a meeting based off that December workshop. The benefit for us would be that we could have a little bit longer of a workshop in December if we wanted to, because we could still start it at 2 o'clock, and if we did 2 to 6, it would, if that is how it presents itself for us as we're working through all these different things. But instead of doing 2 meetings in one day, let's just do 1 meeting in November and 1 meeting in December.
Okay, and do both at 2.
I think that is better for staff to be able to get all of their things together. And then when they have when we do the workshop in December, they would have potential, it's a holiday. There's so much going on.
Or Mayor, or we could just not have a workshop, we'll just have a meeting. And so that.
You can't have a meeting, you can't have a meeting without a workshop. There's nothing to vote on.
Well, you can't.
If we have in October, we have our regular workshop, it's our second meeting, and then in November, we have a meeting based off that workshop, right? but we don't do a workshop in November, we just do a meeting. And then in December, we just do a workshop and no meeting. And then we have our meeting in January based off that December workshop. Then staff has this, trying to do a workshop and a meeting in the same day it's not productive for staff and for us.
Unless the meeting, you have a meeting and then you'd have the workshop for the next meeting.
That is, I understand that, but I'm trying to simplify
Right.
it because of the holidays for staff. I think that would be, we've not done that, I don't believe, and there's two staff here that could give input on whether I'm off base. But at that time of year, they're so busy, there's so much going on, and people are on vacation and they're traveling and all those things. Why not, let's try something new this year that would be maybe more productive in the long run, is what I think, is where my thought is.
I'm fine with that.
So where are we? So we've got the workshop on the 28th of October.
Yes. And then in November, we're going to have our meeting on the 18th.
On the 18th. So it's not a workshop, it's
Meeting, not a
It's
workshop.
a meeting, not a workshop.
So that has to be could that be at 4 or
Me too.
it could be 2?
Yeah.
I don't see why we couldn't do it at 2 o'clock.
Great.
That would work better for you, wouldn't it, Tom?
No.
You're not coming.
On Wednesdays.
That's okay.
I am booked all the way.
On the
till-
third Wednesdays, you're committed. Okay. And then in December, we'll just do a workshop.
So November's going to be the meeting on the 18th
Yes.
Correct.
at 2 o'clock?
Yep.
And I'm just putting this in my phone because I'm like, okay, so and then we won't have anything until December, and December is, we had that set up as a workshop at 4 and meeting at 6.
2 and 4.
2 and 4? Okay. So
And at
that's still going to
December,
stay
we'll
the
do
same?
2 o'clock.
Okay.
It's only going to be a workshop in December.
So no meeting?
Sounds great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Will you update our calendar and bring it back to our
Yes.
next meeting for us?
Yes, that's what I was going to just say, that I'm going to update the calendar.
Make sure that everybody here understands what I just said, because I think I confused them.
Yes, that's what
I definitely confused Commissioner Dillon.
Yes,
I
that's
was
what-
blonde underneath this gray.
Well, I wasn't going to say anything.
Yes, that's what I was just going to say. What
Okay.
I'll do is I'll bring the updated calendar to the next meeting, and then I'll also bring it to the regular meeting where we used to, and then that should be pretty good.
Great.
Okay. So we did not have any public comment. If there's nothing further, it is 6:26 and we're adjourned.